But before we all listen to the medical doctor, we listen to the statistician and mathematician, right? And please ask question. Huh? You all will ask question, then you all will learn together. Okay, and the monk is on the way here. He wouldn't want to sit, but I think he wants to sit. Yeah, with the mother and all her friends. Yeah, so they're coming from their lunch. Okay, so let's welcome Miss Anisha. Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna start the timer. Thank you, everyone, for being here and taking out the time, your precious time and energy for the lecture that I'm about to present. I work in the area of change. I deal with people every day who want to create lasting change. And this week is the week of mental health awareness. It's talking about the mental world, a world that needed attention a long time ago, and we're catching up to it. The science is catching up to it. The technology is catching up to it. I'm here to present a model of understanding. The model is a subjective model. It is my experience that I've had with the clients as well as myself, as and when I've tried to create a change in my mind and my emotion, in my brain and in my feelings. And there are pioneers like Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Maria Bullard, Dr. Greg Braden, who have published such amazing work when it comes to the area of human consciousness and behavior. I'm going to use them as foundations and milestones for the lecture that I'll present. And they are my inspirations, and I've attended their retreats, and there are measurable, significant differences that are calculated and computed when you talk about lasting change. So if I were to categorize the mental world, the two things that come to mind is how you think and how you feel. It's your thought and your emotions that determine your state of being, right? And as I'm talking about this information, as I'm giving you the neuroscience or the physics or the chemistry or whatever it is, high-level knowledge, what we're doing is we're wiring and firing this information in the gray matter of our brain, and we're trying to make sense of what's being said. And as we're doing this, it's another way of saying that you're priming your brain for a software program so that it can be ready for a physical experience in your body, right? Because you know what they say, experience is the greatest teacher. Right? There's a difference between a midwife and a mother. The midwife knows all the technicalities of how one should give a birth. She knows everything, the ins and the outs. And yet, when a mother is giving a birth, she knows of no technicalities. She's going purely based on intuition. And she has an added edge. She's working on a faculty that's much larger than that of knowledge. So if how you think and how you feel determines your current state, then what that means is if we can get our intentions to align with our behaviors, and if we can get our thoughts to match our actions, then you're priming your brain through experience, through intellectual knowledge, to have a visceral experience in your body through chemistry. Right? Because when your brain processes information and the information is hardwired in your brain and you're able to explain a concept that is very complex in simple language, you're preparing your body for an experience because your brain releases chemicals into the body that says, this makes sense. Let's get to it. Let's experience what this means for us. Are we good so far? Clear? Yeah? Okay, good. So let's look at our composition. If somebody asks you, what is your make? What are you made up of? A person will say, well, my name is Anisha Gilani. I was born on this day. They come around and say, well, that's great. That's a label on a jar. What's inside the jar? I'll say, oh, right. I'm an organism. And zoom a little more. I'm made up of tissues. Okay, what makes up your tissues? Cells. What makes up your cells? Molecules. What makes up your molecules? Atoms. What makes up your atoms? The subatomic particles, and now we have the tools to say what makes up the subatomic particles, the quantum field. What is the quantum field in basic language, right? Because I'm not going to sit here and say I understand the quantum field. If I'll be doing that, I'm lying. So I'll say at best, I can take a guess of what a quantum field may be. And the quantum field, in simple language, is the field of information and frequency that is informing our physical body. It is informing our subatomic particles, which make up the atoms, which make up the molecules, which make up the cells, which make up the tissues, which make up the organism, right here. And this field is a unified field of consciousness. So I'm using some terms here that have been used from time immemorial, but in this particular lecture, this field is a unified field that doesn't have a limit, right? And this is the field that governs the stars and the galaxies and the world and dimensions and whatever, universes as you know it. It's the same field of intelligence that is giving rise to matter. Right? And so if you were to think about this in plain language, matter is simply taking this intelligence and condensing it in a very dense frequency that we call matter, that we call our physical body. And our physical body makes up 1% of our constitution. 99.999% of this reality is the field. It's space. It's empty space. That means if you were to look at two atoms beside each other, there is space. There's nothing there. I mean, there's potential. It's not empty, but there is space. And that space has potential. Potentials in terms of frequencies, okay, and information. So now let's look at the Heart Math Institute, which is established in the US, which has done tons of studies when it comes to the electromagnetic frequency and measurements and whatnot. And look at how they define thoughts. Thoughts are defined as the electric signals in the brain. So when you're having a thought, you can see it in a scan. Boom, a light goes off like a current, and you can measure that signal. And look at what feelings are measured as. They're measured as the magnetic field of the body. So when you're having an emotion, don't undermine that emotion. It's energy. And that energy is localized all around your body. And that field of emotion is 100 times more powerful than the field of the thought. This is according to their data. It has been measured. So then what can we say then? If thoughts and feelings make up our state of being, then your thoughts and your feelings are emitting a measurable electric and magnetic field that can be measured. So you're emitting a very precise frequency, an EM frequency of yours, way before you are your body. You are an energetic blueprint. You are an energetic DNA. Way before you physically manifested anything. You're carrying a frequency right now, as in when we're talking, and you're absorbing this information. And this is how you're navigating your world. Now, here's the question. Where do you spend most of your attention? In neuroscience, there is a saying that says, where you place your attention is where you place your energy. And energy is your biggest currency. And we know that the quantum field communicates only one way, through energy, whose language is through frequency and vibrations. So where do we spend most of our wakeful state? On matter or on that frequency? In other words, how many of us got up this morning and decided to be so enthusiastic about life and said, instead of paying attention to everything known in my environment, why don't I create from a field something that's extraordinary, something that's gonna just blow people's hats off, something that's just gonna make me stand out. Little kids used to do that all the time. We don't do that anymore. We're just running a program, okay? So if where you place your attention is where you place your energy, where are we placing our energy on? If that's me in the middle, I'm placing my 1%, all of that amazing energy that exists in terms of potentials, I'm putting it in my environment that is made up of people, places, and things. So not only am I placing it on that 1% that's matter, but that matter that is associated now to all the people, places, and things. That's fine, that's no problem, but now what you're doing is you're taking this currency and you're creating what's called a convergent focus. You're taking all this vital energy and you're focusing it in one particular direction, in matter. And we call that attention. This is like paying attention. When you take a frequency and you converge it, it's saying that you're using a faculty of attention. So we're paying attention to all those things. And when you're paying attention to all those things in your environment, you're creating an energetic bond with them. Because remember, you're more energy. That is your foundation. So what you're taking is you're creating this vital energetic bond with people, places, and things. So here is a pathetic physics humor, if you get it. One atom looks at another atom. So this is me and this is my partner. I look at him, he looks really good. And I go to him and I say, hey, I like your atoms. And he looks back at me and he says, hey, I like your particles. And together we start bonding. So what we're seeing here is that every interaction in your environment creates an energetic bond. And now that bond is solidified by the attention that you give it. Okay? So then what happens? Well, when you're creating an energetic bond in your environment, what kind of thoughts, emotions, and state of being are you in? Look at how you run a typical day. You have certain thoughts that you get up from. You wake up in the morning, your hand reaches for the cell phone, your body follows you to the cell phone, you go for breakfast, your body follows you to the breakfast, you call your mom, you're having a conversation with your mom, then you call your husband, you're having a conversation with your husband, then you're meeting your colleagues, you have a conversation with your colleagues, then you forgot to feed your pet dog, you go and you feed your pet dog, then you've got kids to drop to school, you go and you drop the kids to school, then you have to catch that train to make it to work, you're sending your energy there, your body moves right there, you go to work, you attend your meetings, you're in flight and fright, you have that meeting and that presentation that you need to do, you put your energy over there, you come back home right in time to take that bus, you come home, you make dinner, you feed the kids, you're reading a book by the end of the night, you take a shower, you put your lotions and your potions, and then you go to sleep. And then the next day, you repeat the same thing. So that means that the same thoughts create the same emotions, which create the same identity, which creates the same state of being, which creates the same reality. We're running on an auto loop. And your thoughts are informing your emotions. But now you do that for the last, how old am I, 48? I know I don't look 48, but I'm 48. So I've done that for the last 48 years of my life. And what have I done? I've hardwired myself to be a program. And now my body is so perceptive. It knows better than my conscious mind what I'm going to do next. It is that intuitive. So tell me this. If a person is battling depression, if a person has suicidal ideation, do you think they have any reason to get up the next day? They don't. They don't want to get up the next morning. Why? Because their body already knows what the next day will look like. There is nothing new that is happening. Moreover, you're bounded to your environment. So now your environment determines your state of being. Now you've heard this. The environment signals the gene, right? The environment signals the gene. So if the outer environment of your cell is toxic, the cell gets affected, right? The membrane gets affected, the barrier gets affected, and now you're headed for a disease. So conjecture this with me for a second. If the environment signals the gene, and the end product of any interaction in the environment is called an experience, and that experience is understood in terms of emotions, if you're having a bad emotion, what genes are you signaling? You're down-regulating the genes for health, and you're up-regulating the genes for disease. And every one of those interactions in your environment is a stressor. Combine that with the hormones of stress, you're headed for a genetic destiny. And that destiny is a destiny towards disease, ill health, and name whatever it is that comes to your mind. Because you're putting your body through this unconscious program. Of course, you're not aware of it, that you're putting yourself through it. But you've hard-coded your body to be the mind, and now your body is in charge. And if you tell a depressed person, think positively, look in the mirror and start giving positive affirmations, do you think that's going to help? It won't help. It won't help because the body will say, yeah, your positive affirmations are great, your positive affirmations are amazing, but I don't believe it to be true. I don't believe this to be true. So if the body is the mind, the body does not believe, however much you convince it intellectually about positive thinking. If you have suicidal ideation, you want to end your life. It doesn't matter how much you positively talk them into it. because emotions emit a magnetic field that is 100 times more powerful than that of the electric field. So your thought of positive thinking doesn't cross your brainstem. It doesn't go beyond it. It never penetrates into your body because your body says, I don't believe it. You're very good being miserable. It is familiar. Stay there because it's predictable. And combined with the hormones of stress, when you're navigating your environment, you become more material. You start controlling. You start predicting your reality. You fight, fright, and hide. And if you have a problem here with your mother-in-law, good luck. Right? Good luck. Because there's an energetic bond. So if your mother-in-law is not okay, guess who's not okay? You're not okay. And God forbid if you lose your cell phone. Oh my God, I have seen people who go frantic if their cell phone is missing. You have just lost your free will to a program. Your cell phone controls your state of being. Your mother-in-law controls your state of being. Your dog controls your state of being. That's our state today, and we don't even know it. And we're trying to control every single thing in an environment, and you're running your brain in waves that you don't want to run them in. So here is the world of energetic bankruptcy. You start out with a field of awareness, infinite potential that you can tap into every single day. Instead of connecting to that power source, you go right there into your environment. People, places, things. You start taking that vital force of energy. You start just distributing it in your environment. By the end of the day, you have nothing left to create anything new. That means even if a UFO comes down, even if an alien comes down and looks at me and says, Anisha, I can teleport you to another dimension. I look at him and I'll say, I'm really tired. Can you come another day? I can't. I just can't. I'm too tired. This is how hard-coded we are in our programs, right? So repetition causes the body to remember better than the conscious mind. The body is the master now. Good luck. It's not going to get convinced. So what do we do? Well, now, let's understand brainwaves. This is the fun stuff. Every given day, we're oscillating between a few brainwave states, naturally, and we don't even have to think about it. I'm just labeling it here so we understand how thoughts work. In the wakeful state, your neocortex plugs you into this 3D reality. People, places, things, you navigate your external environment, you're in beta, low range beta. Now here, you're listening to a lecture. And if I were to tell you that within 10 minutes, I'm going to pick one of you to come here and repeat what I have said, and I want you to present the first few slides over here, you're going to tune in a little more. You're going to use attention. You're going to use that faculty of awareness, and you're going to zoom in. You're going to be a little more convergent, and you're going to pay attention, and you're going to say, all right, I better listen. You're in mid-range beta. That's a good range. That's your analytical mind saying, pay attention, you're going to get examined, right? That's pretty cool stuff. Now, suppose right here, as we're sitting, you hear gunshots outside. You hear police sirens, and you hear people screaming, and you now hear people coming up the steps. Is this time to meditate? Is this time to keep your heart open? No. There is a system that kicks in. It's called the autonomic nervous system. It is the automatic nervous system, that reptilian brain that is only concerned with survival. That range of brainwave is called high-range beta. That is your mechanism, this internal intelligence that works within you that is saying, brace, fight, or hide. Right? Because we want to protect you. So your brain is in high-level beta. Fantastic. Now, for a short period, that's good. If you're in the forest, there's a predator that's chasing you, and you need to run, all the vital energy is going to go to your body, into your extremities, and you're going to have enough energy to escape a situation. And then everything normalizes. Your body is back in homeostasis. Every mammal does this. But what do we do? What do we humans do? We think about the same thing over and over again. So if your predator is not a bear that is chasing you in the jungle, but if your predator happens to be the boss that you will see tomorrow morning, and for the rest of the 365 days a year that you have to work with him, what are you doing to your brainwaves? You're in high-range beta all the time. Your system is not turning off. It doesn't know what homeostasis means. You just raised the bar to an abnormal state of functionality, and you're calling that a normal state. Oh, I like to be challenged. You're not challenged. This is just a familiar environment. You're used to this kind of things. And this is how you're running your brain into a frenzy. Okay? Then we come to an alpha range. An alpha range is a range that is a little more relaxed, right? And this is the bridge between the subconscious and the conscious mind. Every night when you go to bed, when you're done all your dealings, you've taken a shower, you've put your lotions and your potions on, you get into that comfortable bed. You're dimming the lights. Your neocortex is unplugging. It doesn't care what's happening down the street. It doesn't care what's happening in the basement. It doesn't care if your children are screaming, you're getting tired. Your blinks are getting a little more heavier. You're getting into alpha. You're getting ready to sleep. And the analytical critic that keeps commenting on every single thing you do, that default mode network that's always making a comment on anything, goes to sleep. And now you're entering what's called theta. Theta is the most programmable state you can be in. It is measured. Okay? And when we get you into theta, we're getting you into that realm where you're activating your right brain, the brain that is in charge of images, visualizations, without any analysis. You're just engaged. You're seeing pictures. You're hearing. You suddenly see faces just before you go to sleep. You're hearing noises from inside your ears. They're not coming from outside. Your brain is ready to go into delta, into deep sleep, and boom, it goes in. So the door between theta and delta is so short. It's so short. But if you can stay in theta long enough, if you can meditate there long enough, if you can bring your attention and your awareness long enough to the frequency that is not matter, that has nothing to do with your personality and your personal reality, the way you have identified it, and you become more of that energy and less of you, now you have dominion. Now you can insert new programs. Now you can delete old belief patterns. But this can only be done when you're at theta. So then the question is, well, now that you know this information, change. You're good. You're empowered. I wish it was that easy. Only it's not. Because now we get into the psychology of us, the definition of what makes you up, apart from thoughts. What are you made up of? Oh, this is my identity. These are my likes. These are my dislikes. Where did they come from? And this is where we start talking about the psychology of you. Did you know that 5% of what you think you are is a program, and 95% who you think you are, but you have no idea what you really are, is a subconscious program that's stored in your mind. And where is your mind at this time? It's in your body. Your body stores this emotion. Your body is in your mind. So half of what you think you are is not even true. You're just running on 5% of conscious programming. 95% of who you are is a set of stored memories and impressions encoded way before you even understood who you were. And let's look at the data. At the time of infancy, between 0 to 2 years of age, you're in a delta state. It's deep dream. You're dreaming. So have you ever seen newborn babies? They're just dreaming. They have no analytical filter. They're not sitting there and analyzing, oh, her hair color is not good. Oh, was she rude to me? They don't understand language. They're just absorbing information as a sponge. Between 2 to 6 years of age, your toddlerhood, they're in theta, programmable stage. This is where they're looking at behaviors. Good girls don't cry, right? Big boys are supposed to be manly. Nobody can bully my son. Oh, we're cursed. Oh, your mom has always been like this. We're destined to failure. We'll never be rich. All these impressions the child is storing in. Now, the child doesn't understand language, so what is it storing? Energy. Because it's understanding frequency. Have you ever entered a room and you suddenly feel like it's so tense? You know something is wrong, but you don't know what happened? You just know it before you even get there. This is what the child is picking up. He's picking up frequency and energy in form of vibrations. Language is not even a factor here yet. He's understanding that. Language now comes in past 6 to 12 years of age. Now your analytical filter is made. Now you're not looking at the world the way it is. You're looking at the world the way you think it is. And you don't even know what you're thinking because these programs are put in. So suddenly, when you're 35 years old and you're trying to attract a partner, and you've known that your mom and your dad have been in an abusive relationship, and you never want that at the conscious level, you never want to attract an abusive partner, of course you wouldn't want that. But it so happens that these partners come to you. 1 month, 2 months into the relationship, you're fighting and killing and you're at each other's throats and you don't know what happened. Now there's a subconscious program that associates you with your mom. And you believe that you're exactly like your mom. So what has happened to your mom will happen to you. Doesn't make sense, but you believe it. So if you ever want to address change, you must address these patterns. So now what happens? You're never going to be able to recondition yourself to a new mind until you enter the door. And that door you find in theta. That is the door that divides the conscious to the subconscious mind. That is the creative realm of imagination. And my question is, if your thoughts can make you sick, can your thoughts make you better? And the answer is yes. But where? Not here. Not when you're plugged into your environment, when you have stressors. No, not there. Here. And every day we have an opportunity to naturally relax into that state. Monk Duke had made a very powerful statement that meditation doesn't have to be so forced. It's a state that you naturally go into. And this is what we did this morning. We naturally phased into the subconscious state just before you go to sleep. Peter, you're almost there. You're almost there, Peter. I can program you the way I want right now, right? And right there, you insert impressions and you change your reality. And now how are you interacting with that field? Not through words, through frequency. So if you feel worthless, you come over here. And now all that information that you knew intellectually about self-worth and forgiving yourself, you start embodying it here. You feel with your heart. You know that that loving intelligence is there protecting you, taking care of you. So that image of your mom that comes up that says, not good, bad girl, eliminate that. And now you insert a new emotion that says, I'm worth it. I'm good. I'm really good. Who becomes the loudest voice in your head? You. What happens to your mom? Eliminated. What did you just do to that bond? You severed it. How did you sever it? By taking your attention off it. When you take energy off something, when you're diverting your attention and focusing somewhere else, you're killing the system. You're taking the life supply out of that bond. So by directing your attention to a higher field, a higher frequency, whose language is frequency and vibration, if you can emote the emotions way before it has manifested in your physical life, you're embodying a certain state of being. And now that body, through chemical concoction, is going to inform the brain to create thoughts that are equal to that emotion. So if you're feeling worth it, the signal goes right to the brain and says, generate more thoughts of self-worth. The brain sends a signal back to the body, feeling great. Send more thoughts. Okay, and now you're remembering a future. Instead of remembering a past, you're remembering a future, and you're carving a new reality. So the old personality has disappeared. You're creating from the field of attention and intention, which are the critical factors in meditation or hypnotherapy or any kind of therapy. Focused intention through the faculty of attention. You're gearing awareness with a particular formula, and this is the formula. What happens to your timeline? Now, think about this. In your predictable reality, you're walking a timeline, you have no energy left. These are your interactions on the left-hand side. What is happening is you start severing everything known in your environment when you're pulling your energy away from it. As you sever this relationship, what's happening to your timeline? It's shrinking. Because what is the definition of time? Time is a function of memory. So your memories glue you to a time. As you sever your connections with everything known on the outside, you are shrinking your memory, and now you're entering what's called a no-time zone. I call that a no-time zone because your old idea of who you are is gone, out the window. That personality is out. Your pure frequency and energy. Now you are in the 0-point field. In the Indian tradition, they called it shunya, the nothingness. The nothingness is not empty. It is vibration, information, and now you're being informed by something much greater than you. And when that information comes true, brace yourself, because your brain is going to emit rays that are so coherent, they compile one upon another, and you're entering this beautiful dance of gamma brainwaves. This theta merge into beautiful gamma, and it's like a tango. And the left brain is interacting with the right brain and imagination. All possibilities are available to you. And this is how you make a lasting change. I think I'm over time. So this is how you create from the realm of energy, This is how you create from the realm of matter, and therefore elevated feelings and elevated thoughts become the new you. The disease was in the old personality, it's not in the new personality. The depression was in the old personality, not in the new personality. You have dominion. And if that is not free will, I don't know what is. These are some of the testimonials that you get from clients where there's an instantaneous pattern breaking. That feel that informs you, opens your heart center, and you can't deny it, because that feeling of loving intelligence cannot be compared to anything. You've got people who are trained in linguistics and they cannot explain in human terms what that feeling is, but your body knows. And once your body knows, your mind knows. I hope you enjoyed it.
What is also important is when a person stays in that zone, right, of running their own life. So there are some people that suddenly become very motivated in their life. Or there are some people, after going through a trauma, become very demotivated in life. How do you explain this?
So trauma is usually stored in the body. So when you give the person the tools to know what has happened to them, and they know what to do and why they're doing it, the how becomes easy. So usually when you're educating the person about trauma, you don't downplay their emotions. You hear their emotions, but then you give them avenues to address it. And usually mindfulness, meditation, hypnotherapy, any kind of technique that can take you outside your current state of being and can tune you out, as in withdraw your attention from something material to something immaterial, and you educate them enough about that field of frequency that exists as a potential that can be observed. If you can give them enough of that information and enough of the taste of being in the present moment, they start acquiescing. Their body starts believing that there's possibility. But it's all about empowering the client, educating them. So the knowledge is for the mind, emotions are for the body. And if this knowledge can penetrate into the system of the body at the right brainwave state, at the right state of theta, you need to hold them there. Most people go to sleep. But if you can hold them there, they'll know that they have dominion. They start observing their thoughts, but now they don't have an emotional attachment to it. Right? And when you don't have any emotional attachment to that thought, you have dominion. Now you can just observe it outside of yourself. And in neuroscience, that's called the art of metacognition. When you're able to observe your thoughts outside of yourself, and now you don't identify with them anymore. There's just no vibrational match. And now what was trauma turns into wisdom.
Yeah, so besides the trauma part, how do we make a person that are really not motivated to become motivated? Because they stay in their S1, their whole life is running by the autopilot system. And then now I want to make this person very motivated.
You guide them in a way that they can start focusing their attention within, either through meditation or through hypnotherapy, but something that can penetrate deeper and within, because there's nothing outside of them. If you take them to a psychiatrist, I have no problems with psychiatrists. I think they're great people. But what you do is you make them dependent on medicine. And what I'm saying is, if you start withdrawing your attention to within yourself, what is causing you to be less motivated? Right? Get to that. What is causing you to be less motivated? What is it that's making you lazy? What is making you feel like you're not deserving? You'll start realizing that it has a lot to do with self-worth and the ability to receive love. A lot of people don't know how to do it. And in this work, 9 out of the 10 people come to me and they say, it can work for him, but it won't work for me. And I say, why not? And they'll say, because I don't think I'm worthy of receiving. Now, if you're not worthy of receiving, are you going to feel motivated to do anything? No. So what they see on the periphery and the root problem is usually a lot to do with worthlessness. And they need to...
A big challenge for a person who's not motivated and you tell them, okay, let's do meditation.
No, so I'm not just saying... No. So I'm not just saying meditation. So meditation is one of the ways. But if you look at the stuff that's coming out right now, hypnosis, it can be done even while you're asleep. Subliminal messages can always be passed when you're in a sleep state. Right? So there's enough data that shows that even while you're sleeping, you're alert and listening. But obviously, you're not aware of it. But that can also be done for somebody who just lacks every motivation to even sit for a meditation, who doesn't have even that level of energy, you can try messaging them while they're in their sleep state, because the door between the conscious and the subconscious mind is wide open. So rest, be assured that he's listening. But how much of it is coming into his conscious awareness, that'll take time. But the more you push them and the more you educate them, and this is why intellectual knowledge is so important. It's just not enough to say, I'll just put you down and I'll do some magic on you. It doesn't work like that. You must educate them. And this is why in the Eastern traditions, books were written, discourses were given orally, so that the disciple was made aware and understood intellectually what he had to embody experientially. So it's very important to educate that person intellectually, and then give them the methods to go within, and whichever suits them.
Okay, any other question, anyone? Yeah.
So I have questions, two questions. I after listening to this kind of lecture, I think my friends, a lot of my friends have panic attack, and I think one of those reasons, very good cause of it, I think trauma, and you do all process of that. And then the panic is a result of the cell, remember, in a nervous system or something similar to that situation that she or him been through the trauma, and then this happens again, like a panic attack like that. So, two questions. The first one is that right? The root cause of panic attack is usually they have some kind of trauma and been through that process. And the second one is how do they fix themselves, or they need to do another way?
Yeah. So panic attacks is usually a cause of an environment that you cannot navigate around. So if you're not able to control the environment, you're not able to predict the next moment, you get panic attacks because you're in the unknown and you don't know, your body doesn't know what to do in the unknown. So if you're not a meditator, because part of meditation is bringing awareness to that field of intelligence that cannot be known by the mind. It can be, to a certain degree, experienced by the mind. So you're in the unknown all the time. But for a person who's always connected to their environment and the stressors in their environment, the unknown is not a happy place to be, and the body's not comfortable in doing that. So the first thing you can do is give them exercises, physical exercises to calm their system down. So don't force them to go, just let's go, you'll get used to it, let's go. It's like dragging a dog. You don't want to do that. You cannot force somebody against their will to do something that their body is telling them, I'm not comfortable doing. It's violating their rights. So what you do is you honor what's happening at that time, sit them down, and give them some breathing exercises. And breath work has shown to calm the system down. It's been shown to engage the vagus system. There are certain techniques, breathing techniques, that you can do to just keep that person afloat for that period of time. But the long-term solution, again, is nothing but going within and addressing trauma that is stored at the subconscious mind. And anything that you think is happening at the conscious mind is your interpretation of it. So yes, there is more trauma being done at your conscious level, but the buttons, the triggers are way before the age of 12. And that's why a lot of people who will come for therapy, they will always talk about their childhood. Always. It's almost like a guaranteed thing. And it's important to address that. Yeah. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.